Hi guys, Dr. Mel, and we're busy with intermolecular forces, and we're going to specifically focus on types of questions that you will be asked in terms of boiling and melting points. So let's quickly have a look. You know that there's different factors that's actually been influenced by the intermolecular between the molecules of a certain compound. You've got to know the three van der Waals forces, and now we're going to specifically have a look at boiling and melting points. Remember, we find melting and boiling points when it goes from a solid to a liquid or a liquid to a gas. And bear in mind that you've got to know the two very, very important definitions. Boiling point, which is a temperature when the atmospheric pressure on the outside is equal to the vapor pressure inside. And then melting is again the temperature when the solid and the liquid is in equilibrium. You've got to memorize those. You will be asked to give the definitions. A question that will be put to you is either in a graph or in a table. Now, the one I've selected is in this table. Now, let's quickly have a look. We've got a few compounds: water, ethanol, bromine, iodine, ammonia, and phosphine. They're giving us the formula. Can you see H2O? And immediately in my mind, I'm working with intermolecular forces. I'm saying this is hydrogen bonds. Remember H, N, O, and F. Here I've got a dipole, it seems. Bromine is non-polar, so I know it's the induced dipole. Iodine, the same. Ammonia is there, so it's again a hydrogen bond. And phosphine will be a dipole. So that I know. And I've got to get to the boiling points, and guys, make sure that you understand what a boiling point means. I need you to understand, and I'm quickly going to draw this. If I've got a boiling point there, and let's say that's 100 degrees, the bottom part will be the liquid phase, and the top part will be the gas phase. Can you see where we are in terms of boiling point? Now I'm going to go back to the previous slide. This means at 100 degrees, if I draw a thermometer there, at 100 degrees, I've got water boiling. At 78, which is below that, I've got ethanol boiling. Bromine at 58.8. 148, it's way up there. Minus 33 and minus 87. So just conceptualize, and I always try to visualize that by drawing exactly what I did just now. But we'll answer the question and you'll see how we're going to do that. Question will be, what's the difference of the boiling point of iodine and bromine? So it's both of them the halogens, both of them diatoms. Have a look at iodine and bromine. Now, if we have a look at our periodic table, you will see iodine here and bromine there, which means bromine is slightly smaller than iodine. And that gives you the clue. So the mass of bromine will have a smaller molecular mass, and this will have a greater molecular mass. Now, depending on the marks, if they say 1 mark, this will be sufficient. If they say 3, they would like you to expand on your answer. This is a larger molecule. Now, this one is the larger one, sorry. The larger molecule, therefore, the larger surface area. Can you see I'm now expanding on my argument? Why is this higher? Let's go and correct the bromine. it is a smaller molecule and therefore a smaller area. So these will be the comparisons between those two substances. Another question. Explain why phosphine will evaporate faster than ammonia. Now let's have a look. Phosphine evaporating. Let's go back to our table. I'm just going to clear this table. Phosphine is evaporating at minus 8.7 and ammonia at minus 3.3. Now let's go to our question. Phosphine is evaporating at 8.7 minus, and that ammonia is at minus 3.3. So what happens here is that I've got this in a liquid and there it's gas, and only here is it changing from the liquid to the gas. But that's not the answer. The answer is, why does this happen? Well, we know NH3 has got hydrogen bonds, which is stronger. So it will keep the molecules tight together, where the phosphine will be the dipole, or depending on its shape, if it's dipole like that, can you see there, it will have a positive and a negative side, which is a weaker bond than the hydrogen bond. We need to be able to explain in terms of intermolecular forces, why is this evaporation faster? Another question. We've got water, ethanol, and bromine at room temperature, and they tell me they are all liquids at room temperature. Which one will have the highest vapor pressure? Well, I'm going back to my boiling points. I've got my table. I've got water at 100. I've got ethanol at 7.8, and I've got bromine at 5.8. Now let's write that down. This is 100 degrees Celsius. This is 78 degrees Celsius, and this is 58 degrees Celsius, 58.5. Which one will have the highest vapor pressure? Well, let's draw our thermometer. There's my little thermometer. Let's make it a real thermometer. So I've got my mercury there, and it's going up, and it's indicating 58.8 for the bromine. So what I have then is that I've got bromine gas, the liquid, and gas at 58.5. Let's see what happens with the ethanol. I've got at 7.8 degrees, I've got liquid and gas. And what do I have with water? With water, I've got at 100 degrees. Can you see this one will be boiling much faster? Therefore, it will have the highest vapor pressure. All these will be in a gas state. Little bit of this, and if it's at 100 degrees, it hasn't reached the room temperature yet. So it will still be in a liquid. So the answer will be the bromine. Why? Because it's got the weaker bonds. Now let's identify the bonds between them. It's bromine and bromine. So that will be induced dipole forces, which is the weakest force. This will be the dipole on the one side, and that will be this side. And this side will have a hydrogen bond because it's O and F. And this will only have hydrogen bonds. And this corresponds with our theory that hydrogen bonds is stronger than a dipole is stronger than an induced dipole. Therefore, this will have the greatest vapor pressure. So we've answered the question. Let's get to a next question. What is the compound, They don't tell us, they just say it's A, B, C, D, and E, but they give us the formula. CH4, C2, C5, C6, and C20. So when I see a question like this, I try to interpret what will they, and anticipate what will they ask of me. Can you see this molecular mass is smaller than this one here, right? Can you see what's happening with the boiling point? And if we remember what we did in the previous lesson, the higher the molecular mass, the higher the boiling point, or the stronger the intermolecular forces. Now let's see what question will they ask. Define boiling point. Now I've stressed it in every lesson. It's the temperature where the vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure. Now you can't just write what I did there, that's not marks, but interpret that in real words. I'm not going to write that down. Calculate the molecular mass of compound D. Now compound D is C6H40. So you can go and you can write down C6H14 molecular mass. You go back to your periodic table. I've got 6 and carbon is 12 plus 14 and hydrogen is 1. And if I add that together, I get 68, and the unit for molecular mass is gram per mole. So I already have marks for my theory as well as my calculation. What's the next question? In which phase is compound B at 25? Now let's have a look at compound B. Compound B has got a boiling point of minus 89. Now let's draw that. If I've got my thermometer again, at 25, which is room temperature there, I need to establish what is happening with B. Well, it is boiling at minus 89. At minus 89, boiling means going from a liquid to a gas. So the question is, what is the phase in 25? At 25, it is a gas. It's already boiled into the gas phase. What's the type of intermolecular force in A? Let's have a look. A is CH4, so I've got a CH4 which looks like this, and another CH4. Let us draw that. And you just have to write down the answer. I'm trying to explain to you how to get thinking about this. Can you see this is non-polar and non-polar? So it's induced dipole. And you've got your marks for that question. Right, a last question. Why is the boiling point increasing from A to E? And we almost answered that before. Because the molecular mass is increasing. You can see it's getting more and more carbons as it goes down. Therefore, the boiling point is increasing. My answer will be with the molar mass that is increasing, my intermolecular forces are increasing. Therefore, I need more energy to overcome the intermolecular force. And that will be full marks. So the molar mass increases from the top to the bottom. It means the intermolecular forces will be increasing, and you could see the boiling point is very high at the bottom because it needs lots of energy to overcome the intermolecular force. We never say we break it, we overcome it. Right, can you guys distinguish the effects? Molar mass we had in this question, boiling points we had in this question. You need to apply all of those changes when you answer questions, because they are going to ask you to compare A to D. What is the difference from the top to the bottom? You need to be able to apply all of this in the questions that will be put to you. Go and have a look at past papers. Go to Siyavula. Go to Science Clinic. Answer questions. Write down intermolecular forces in the sequence. Strong, weak, so that you can apply and get all your marks in this very challenging chapter. Bye.